Let's
All right, peeps, welcome to the Culture and People podcast. Brian, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. So I like to say that I am a recovering technologist, meaning that the first decade or so in my career, I was in technology. You know how technology is. I mean, we're just happy that Zoom is working right now and we don't have to restart the computer a million times. You know how we're having a Monday? Computers have that too. So I kind of got sick of the promises of tech and found that I enjoyed the creative side of my brain, communication, and all of that. So after a while, I really wanted to go off on my own. And fast forward to today, I run an industry leading infographic company, and we've been around for 14 years.
Yeah,
Started as a social media company and eventually evolved it into really specific and advanced content marketing to make ideas visual, influential through visuals. Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, and I am a total stats geek, so I love infographics. They're kind of my secret addiction. And so when I saw your profile, I'm like, yes, please, another
Awesome.
person who enjoys those visuals as much. So, you're positively influencing people in culture
Mhm.
through many ways. One of the ways is visuals, but for you personally, what's the best thing about that type of work?
Sure. So whether you're an artist or visual or not, that almost doesn't even matter. I feel like there has to be a mindset shift if you don't already understand and appreciate this as a human. There is a great keynote speaker by the name of Dr. Rick Rigsby who talks about using your influence to influence others,
Hmm.
your to impact others rather. So he gives some great keynote speech, commencement speech to a bunch of college graduates. And
Awesome.
I think that people, they just don't kind of understand what they're supposed to be doing on the day to day. And for a lot of people, they're in it for themselves. And who wants to hang out with that person at a party, right?
Hmm.
So I
I
just,
and I don't know if you found this too, Brian. It maybe in your own work, and there's definitely been times in my career where I have found myself like this. But we can get complacent sometimes. And yes, there are seasons of stress, right? Maybe COVID, where we need to back up a little bit. But I sort of look at the workforce. One of the keynotes I give is leveraging your time, talents, and your voice better, because I feel like we sort of think we have to get on this conveyor belt and that someone's going to tell us what to do. But really, we really should step up and use our influence more. If you're going to choose to work somewhere, you might as well do it really well.
absolutely. So I think the word influence is commonly misunderstood. So a lot of people hear influence and they hear influencer out of what we're saying
Mm,
in that word. That's not really where I'm going. And I'm not here to pick on the Instagram crowd and all that. You know, you do you. Feel free to not listen to this and fast forward the next minute or two. But since you asked me a question, let me go forward with that a little bit more.
yeah.
So there's kind of like two trees to success. One is kind of narrow-minded for yourself, transactional and transient, and that's to be an influencer where you're
Mhm.
not really doing it in cooperation or partnership with anybody else to help other people succeed and help them try to figure out their brilliance to the world, but
Hmm.
rather the influential use that platform, like I said, Dr. Rigsby says really well, to use that to impact others. Like you said, right now, there's so many people that are in very challenging, very, very difficult situations during COVID. So if you are in a seriously impacted state, whether it is the physical location or the industry, whatever it is, of course, that's going to be heartbreaking and
Mhm.
devastating. But if you're not, this is when I've seen personally, there's some companies that are skipping years into a pathway of success and
Yeah,
something that they never would have even thought possible.
sure.
And as you said very well, Anna, a lot of people, they're doing this without a map or waiting for someone to come up with the bullet points for them.
Mhm. Yeah, and the people I found, I use a phrase called entrepreneur because I'm trying to wake people up that entrepreneurs don't have to be the only ones that own their time, talents, and their voice. They can be influential internally, right? We need good people within organizations to use their influence for the people around them and for the greater good of the organization, obviously, too. That's why they get paid. But
Right.
I think a lot of that comes down to performance and engagement. And right now, I'm hearing from a lot of leaders that engaging employees is a challenge. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on what kind of a leader you are. I think that, again, talking about getting words wrong, there's a misnomer of a difference between a boss and a leader. I think a lot of people can be a boss, and I sure wouldn't want to work for a lot of them. But a leader is a person who leads and can be a rock to carry other people along, right? So I am fond of saying that the currency of our time isn't gold or Bitcoin or the dollar. It's having a good fit mental mindset. Are you bothering to double down and learn and understand where people are coming from? Are you having honest conversations? Are you being transparent? Are you a good communicator? Do you know how to listen? How many ears do you have? Two, and you have one mouth, right? So I think a lot of people, they don't have very good emotional intelligence skills. And if anything, something that I think has been tremendous in this time is LinkedIn Learning, right?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful platform that has all sorts of courses and pretty much anything you can imagine. And there's a lot of things that you can really do to fine tune your skill set to be a leader, regardless of where you are in the org structure, official or not.
Yeah. And, I'm kind excuse me, bronchitis getting over.
Aw.
Kind of a lifelong learner. So I'm always the one who's like, what's that next book? What's that next course? I just want to keep getting better. Not everybody is built like that, right? But you can still set mini goals for yourself. It doesn't have to be going back to get your MBA, right? You can learn a new skill. Recently I learned how to watercolor paint, right? So exercising that creative side of my brain. So there's many things that we can do. I'm curious for you, Brian, tactically speaking, then, I'm on the line and maybe I am a people leader or just a leader of influence. Either way, right? Everybody's a leader, right? In my mind, you can choose. What is the tactical advice that we can give to ensure that I'm truly being a leader and not acting like a boss?
Sure. So like I said, to go out front and not just have other people do everything for you. That doesn't mean to be well-rounded. Certainly dive into the things that you're good at and try to delegate or at least partner with the rest. But I think that a lot of people get that wrong. I think it's very important to lead with your strengths. And strength doesn't mean that you're just going to be like this bully type A, charging at everything, right? A lot of people lead with just putting yourself out there on the line, right? And just being vulnerable. And a lot of times everything that we want is on the other side of being comfortable. So really putting yourself out there, I think.
And you're talking to somebody who wants to advance humanity as part of my personal mission, right? Advance
Somebody's
humanity
gotta,
in the world of
yeah.
work.
We all
We
find
need
each
to
other.
bring that personal side back to the work. And I'm a huge fan of a lot of assessments, but Strengthsfinder, Clifton Strengths, for that very reason, that I feel like it sort of gives us a language and that confidence or empowerment to say, these are sort of my natural or, practiced strengths over time that I can leverage to lead in my most authentic way. And I think when we're most authentic, we come across in the best way, right? We're not very clunky. We're more smooth.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll add to that, I feel like a lot of people, they think that they can only be good at one thing or two things. And then there's all this other stuff over here that's just going to be my passion project. And, oh, I'll never get a job that can combine this and that. I disagree with that. I think there are, especially in times like this where we're not necessarily traveling, we're trying to do more things remote, there's an opportunity to link up both sides of our brain and really come up with superclusters of special powers. Again, it's not being well-rounded, it's really fine-tuning, like you said, Adam, about finding your strengths. How do you do something to connect all those strengths? And sometimes it might be some stuff inside and outside the workplace, could be things you volunteer. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be different for different people, but I mean, I think that's a big part of the DNA of what we do as a company, is really combine a lot of the art meets pragmatism, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk about a concept about a passion patchwork, right? You don't have to have a white bedspread. You can have a patchwork quilt of all these things that you're passionate about, and they'll make you more rich because of that.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Brian, we're in, a minute or less. Do you have a leader that you might want to shout out as somebody who is doing that true leadership, authentic leadership that you gave the examples of?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. So since we like talking about LinkedIn on LinkedIn, there's a few people that I think are really interesting over there on the LinkedIn side. Big fan of Michaela Alexis and all the work that she does over there. And also let's give a shout out to, if you guys know Authentic Alex, one of the 4 founders of the LinkedIn local movement. I
don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like they both are real, and tons of people too, but you said in a minute, so come on. I like people that are not afraid to kind of stand out and be authentically who they are.
Yeah.
And that's not just a copy and paste of somebody else's resume or whatnot.
Yeah, those LinkedIn influential people, we'll use that, are I think blending a lot of that personal and professional, which that is who we are. We don't have this like Anna side here and Anna side at home. It's who we are.
Mhm.
And now more than ever, that's bridge. So it's great to see those people making those strides on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Well, Brian, thank you for your time today. And thank you for everything you're doing for people and culture in the workplace.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, peace and progress, guys.